New Landing's Job Chat is brought to you in part by the Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future, and by the EBS Group with an unparalleled background in Oracle solutions and services.
You can get real with yourself. You can get real with other people. How do you get real with a thing? In this case, we're talking about business. You'll find out on today's Job Chat. Your hosts are Hector Silva and Sarah Kane. Our guest today is Harry Campbell. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you.
Harry Campbell is a senior executive with a strong track record of success over 26 plus years. Harry is a keynote speaker and author of Get Real Leadership, a book available on Amazon. He is known as an identifier, developer, and motivator of exceptional talent at all levels of the organization. Welcome again, Harry.
Thank you.
Harry, what do we mean when we're saying get real with business?
The context of my book really is that there's three levels of leadership. We talked about yourself and leading it, integrity and approach, and we talked about influence and impact with regard to people. The top one is kind of a fun one for me to talk about. It's a little simpler than the rest, and it really has to do with the idea that in a business you need to operate appropriately and lead appropriately, but the goal is to win. It's to win. And I talk about this. You know, you can go in and continue to have a conversation with your boss about when the next promotion and raise is, but at the end of the day, the boss wants to say, okay, could you do your job today? Could you do it well? I hired you, the company needs you, our employees need you, and the competition is afraid of you. Could you stop worrying about the other stuff and do your job now? And I always talk about this when I give speeches around the country, particularly to juniors in high school and people in college and coming right out. I said, you know what, you can get all wrapped around and calling it a career, and I don't have any problem with that, but at the end of the day, do your job now. That's leading the business to me.
Can you get away from that real easy?
I think so. Aren't we all self-serving creatures at the end of the day?
Yeah.
You want to know, what about me? How's my life? How am I getting paid enough? My boss is not treating me well. It's the excuses. Oh boy, I couldn't get that done, and I had it, and I committed it, and I didn't work through it. I think there's a spiral upward and downward that can go on here. If you're not happy with your work environment or your business or what you're doing or even the people around you or maybe even something personally that's gone outside of work, I think it's very easy to get distracted and not remember that your goal is to do what you're being paid to do, which is to deliver results and meet your objectives. And if you stay on track to do that, a lot of other stuff takes care of itself.
Now, Harry, you're a somewhat competitive person, I hear.
Yeah.
So, of course, you want to win at business. What would you say to someone who maybe doesn't feel that they have that competitive drive in them?
I think that's going to be hard, but I think the main thing to say to them is personal pride. It's going to be hard to drive yourself if you don't either want to compete and hate to lose or take personal pride in what you're doing. And I think, frankly, given the right circumstances, everybody, or virtually everybody, can have one of those two things. I am a competitor. I time myself to work every day, work and home, and I try to set my record. I really believe that gets my juices flowing, gets me stimulated to compete. Not everybody is like that, but the personal pride of a job well done and getting recognition, maybe reward also, I think can actually take its place and be just as productive.
Great.
If we look at it from the standpoint of somebody who's unemployed and going in for job interviews or trying to get a job, the employer that is interviewing you is hiring you for one thing. They have a job that needs to be done, just like you said. So would it behoove people then when they're being interviewed to make sure that they understand that your interest is in the business and what the business needs to do to be able to get that job done?
Absolutely. This isn't even a "it depends," which can be an answer to almost anything these days. The answer to that is yes. Curiosity about what the business does and what makes it work and who the competitors are and how the pieces of the job fit together with other departments and organizations. All that stuff is fascinating. And at the end of the day, the people that are already working there have some good answers, are probably willing to talk about that. there's nothing better than talking about yourself or your own business or your job and what's going on. And if you get a chance to do that as a prospective employee, there's two things that happen there. First of all, it puts you in great light with them. Nothing wrong with that. Second of all, it helps you learn. Your ability then to answer questions in that same interview or an ensuing interview, or put pieces together and say, wow, if that's the case, I didn't realize they were one of your top competitors. I'm going to do a little research on them, and the next time I come back here, I'm going to have some more insight. So you have both those things that actually work very productively if you do that right.
So it behooves you to do your homework.
Yes, Hector, it does.
If you're an entrepreneur, let's look at it from that standpoint. You're starting your own business. How do you then get people to understand that that is what is important to you? The employees that you have working for you in that business and the customers that are coming in the door.
I think there's no fake in this. I think it has to do with every day in every way, your words and actions, how you treat people, how you interview people, how you talk to the people that clean your building, and how you interact with, if you're not the boss, the boss. All those things are put together in one basket, and the world starts to recognize that. And the world could be the 7 people who are trying to get a job in your company, or the world could be the broad business environment. I think at the end of the day, what you really want is you want people that want to compete, people that want to do a good job, and they want to be in an environment where they can do that with less friction.
And what you're bringing to the table to do that are your skills.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you get them to know that that is what you're going to use?
Well, obviously, the obvious answer here is you can talk about your experiences, and you can even get to be extraordinarily good at explaining what you did and why you did it and how, so that people know what your skills are. That doesn't always work. Interviewing, talking, getting to know somebody. What you really need to do is make sure that there are people around you that know your strengths and skills and can talk about them effectively and are willing to do that. And it isn't just references. I've talked about this before last week. The people in your references are going to be the best people ever to talk about you, or they should be, and what you've done and why you've done them and who you are. But there are people that have been surrounding you and watched you operate. They may have worked for you. They may have worked beside you. They may have worked in a completely different department, but had a best friend that was in your org. It's those people and what they think of you and how they think of you that can maybe make a difference when it comes to being productive.
So there are words that you want them to be using, and not words like, well, he's a nice guy. Harry's just, he brings a smile to everybody's face. That's good. Yes. But what does that do for the business?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, selfishly speaking, if you're trying to hire somebody, you want to hear words like appropriately competitive or just competitive. You want to hear driven. You want to hear, well, it depends on the business, but maybe you want to hear somebody that's impatient, which I am. Don't know. Or you want to know somebody that's very much of an affiliator and loves to work with people. Or it may be an individual contributor job that you want someone that's very, very smart. And you don't even worry about the ability to have these other skills with regard to people. You want somebody that puts their head down and charges forward. You need to know that.
And Harry, if you're leading an organization, how do you inspire and motivate people to care about the business results?
Well, hell of a question. Oops. I love this because it's perhaps the hardest thing to do when you have a big company. I don't think it's as hard with a small company because I think you can tend to have more personal interaction, and you can tend to be more selective about who's in and who's out of a 5-person company, right? In a big company, you're going to have all kinds. You're going to have the bell curve. So what I felt like I needed to do was to establish myself as someone that was willing to make a decision, that was pretty darn good at my job, and that was caring about building a culture that would enable the business to thrive and the people to thrive. And the way I talked about this, Sarah, is very simple. I believe that it starts with employees. I've said this many times publicly. Take care of employees. Employees take care of customers. And the results follow. I think too many people focus first on customers, and then the employees can get left behind, and I believe in the long term that you can suffer, or even worse, people focus on and too worried about the results. The results are, in fact, at the end of the line. And if you pay too much attention to that, then you can lose the customers and the employees. So I say, start with employees, make sure you got the right environment, and you've got all of the avenues for listening and creating and having the culture you want and accountability. They take care of customers and results follow. And if you can do that, it's actually simplifies your job as a leader.
New Landing's Job Chat will be back right after a word from our sponsors.
Hello, my name is William Easley, Managing Director of Wealth Management with Prosperity Advisory Group. While under unemployment stress, there may be a temptation to become more conservative with your investment allocation. Recognizing how short-term problems can adversely influence your thinking about long-term goals can help you avoid costly mistakes. It's reasonable to expect that you may need cash and more liquid assets at your disposal as you assess your financial situation over a job loss. However, you must avoid selling long-term investments as a panic response to uncertainty. You may trigger an unwanted tax or generate an ill-timed loss. Conversely, being unemployed isn't the time to take a flyer on a hot stock tip, ratcheting up your risk level in hopes of a quick profit to make up for lost income. You may do nothing more than compound your cash flow problem. A reasoned and balanced approach is recommended. Start by seeking out a qualified financial planner, such as a CFP professional, who can help you assess your unemployment situation, suggest strategies for conserving wealth, and perhaps help you with ideas on how to best protect assets. It's important to sort out alternatives while structuring a plan around your short-term objectives and your long-term goals. Again, I'm William Easley with Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future.
I know many people are out there keep saying our employees are our biggest asset, but you have to treat them like such.
Yeah, that's, when I hear that, I usually, all my warning signals go up, blah, 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 blah. Everybody says that. It's kind of like the mission statement that says, our goal is to make money. Nice job. I love that. The people are your most important asset. I actually have never said that because I believe it's too trite. I think at the end of the day, the policies you put in place, the words you use, the actions you have, and the people you hire to put in charge of groups will drown out those words.
So establishing the culture that they would want to work in is more important than just the feeling.
Yes, one of the ways I described this is very simplistic, and it came down to saying I want people that want to win with me, not as a result of me or in spite of me or whatever the other words are, with me. And I'm going to give you a little example. It's Friday. It's 5 o'clock. There's 3,000 people that work in my org, and they're all over the United States. I'm not watching them. Many of them are exempt employees that can leave. They're not clocking in and out. I love the idea of the person that decides at 5 o'clock on Friday they're going to put another 15 minutes in because they embrace the culture and they believe in it and they want to win with me and they want to win for themselves and they want to win for the company. 15 minutes. And here's what I would say. That person making that decision is irrelevant. It's nice, but it's irrelevant. But I tell my team, if 3,000 people make that decision, we have 750 hours of extra productivity that comes out of it. 15 minutes may not matter, but if you do it right and everybody gets that kind of forward momentum, it has a chance to change the world. So what you do is you try to create it so that more and more people have that attitude and it becomes a tidal wave.
And Harry, I think one of the ways you did that, Buzz, by creating an award. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I was working for Procter & Gamble, went down to Northwest Arkansas and helped found the Wal-Mart Procter & Gamble Customer Team for about 2.5 years. When I came back to Cincinnati, I was going to be a big cheese. I was going to be in charge of a brand, and I thought I might be on Crest, maybe Tide, and I was going to be a big deal. And they told me I was going to be the brand manager of Metamucil. You have to kind of take a deep breath when that happens, and you have to say to yourself, okay, it's a $160 million business with very high profit margins, but at the end of the day, being the king of constipation is not exactly what you're looking for. Turned out my business team was a little bit ashamed of being working on the business. They didn't embrace it. They didn't have fun with it. So I said, all right, we can change this. So I created an award. It was a shirt that I gave to the person on my business team with the best attitude. It was not the person that worked all night, delivered the results. Those people get recognized and rewarded in different ways. It was the person you want to walk down the hall with because it feels good to hang with them. And it's the person that everybody wants to be around, even if you don't know their name or know what they do. And I gave that to the person, and they put it on in the business meeting. And the next month at our business meeting, that person wore the shirt, and I gave a second one out. 6 months later, I got people that have won the awards wearing the shirts to the meetings. And I have the whole company. This is a global packaged goods company. Knowing about the shirts and loving them, so people that worked on Metamucil could say, yep, I work on the brand with those shirts. And those shirts were not fancy. They were worth $8. They were salmon colored, yes. Awful, crazy awful. And they were Mr. Happy Bowel was what it was. It was a heart and a large intestine dancing. And the caption on the shirt said, with friends like these, who needs enemas? I will tell you, wearing them in public took a lot of gumption, and my team loved it and embraced it. And what happened was it made us more positive and optimistic, and I think it put a little more bounce in people's step in terms of wanting to work on the business. And it was fun.
I don't understand why that didn't become the tagline for the brand.
I recommended that, but it didn't go very far.
So as a leader, you don't have to aspire to be brilliant or one of someone up there with Sam Walton. You can just come up with an award that inspires your team members, and that can do amazing things.
Sarah, that is right on. That's the cool thing about it. I talk about leadership in 2 words, influence and impact. And it doesn't matter whether it's 2,000 Wal-Mart stores or 3 people in a small business that's starting up. At the end of the day, if you have good instincts and you treat people really well, you have the ability to do things that become magic. I did not create that award to affect Procter & Gamble and have hundreds or thousands of people want to be in the business. I wanted to do something a little bit fun so that the people on my team enjoyed their work better because, selfishly speaking, I felt like we would do better. We would enjoy our jobs more and we do better. It turned into something that I'm talking about. It was 1991 when I did this, and I'm still talking about it today. So I would argue that none of this is fancy. It's not a big silver bullet, and it's not something that comes as a bolt of lightning. What happens is it's a series of things and decisions you make with regard to getting real and treating people the way you want to be treated. Think of the golden rule that enables you to lead and inspire in ways that can surprise you.
Okay. Well, you're talking about being at the top of that pyramid and leading an organization. But you've also talked about leading upwards. Mm-hmm. So how do you do that? How does that help the business? And can you think of any time somebody did that with you?
Oh, yeah, I can think of this. I'm going to start with me leading up because it feels better than to talk about the time when I needed to be led by somebody below me, okay? I've had 24 bosses in my career, and 2 have been bad. Several have been excellent, and most have been good. Even the good ones and the excellent ones have needed to be led. I'll call it influenced by me. And I felt like I owed it to my organization. If I'm going to accomplish my objectives, one of the things I need to do is get a balance of allowing the boss to input as needed and develop and provide feedback, but also to stay away when we need them to. And I've had bosses that tried to drive extra work for something that I felt like wasn't on strategy or what we needed to do. And so I had to say, okay, we're going to have this conversation separately. And I would do everything I could to influence them to stop or not start a project. And if I could, I won. My team might not know about it. Or if it happened, I would try to set milestones so we didn't have to drive extra work. Also, I'll go to goal setting. I've had a boss that said, I'm going to set a goal for your org that is not possible to be reached. And I said, ouch. And he said that it is proven that we will always deliver better results if you have an unreachable goal. I said, maybe. I'm not going to argue with that. I've heard the rule of standing against the wall and continuing to jump and jump and jump, and you get higher and higher. But the problem is you don't get to celebrate. And I said, I'm not saying that in a trite way, but the organization doesn't feel good about itself. It doesn't feel like a winner. It doesn't have the chance to say, we made this milestone. Let's celebrate. Let's spike the ball, and let's go to the next one. And I said, I believe it's so important that the team feels like they're winners and they're moving forward, that setting goals that are stretch but possible is more important. He disagreed. We set goals that we couldn't reach, and we had a great year financially, but it was hard in the organization to never be able to say we won. I think winning is important as long as you set the goals appropriately. And that was a great example of me feeling like I needed to manage the boss way more than I would have thought. I've been managed down. When I first, particularly the first time I was leading people, I just thought I was so good. And I would help them, and someone that wasn't good at their job, I would help them do their job because I was fresh out of it and I knew what to do. And after a while, the folks in the group said, okay, you can either do all this if you want, or you can stand out of the way and tell us what we need to do and let us go do it. And I said, ouch. And I said, I'm going to try. And I didn't change 180 degrees at that point. But the realization that I was being more destructive than productive by doing that was pretty harsh and important. It was good for me, even though it didn't feel good.
I'm sure there's some people that would have loved to get paid to watch you do their job for them, but that doesn't help the organization in the long run.
Not in the long run at all, no. And it's quite exhausting, by the way.
Yeah, especially when part of leadership is development.
Yes, yes.
And I know that you're really big on development.
I love it. I love mentoring and influencing people. I love finding people that have skill sets that are very obvious to me but don't have the experience. One of my most fun things to do is hire somebody for a big job that has never done anything remotely like what I hired them for. And because I think it makes people flinch a little bit and say, why did you do that? And I say, well, I hired to skill sets. They can learn the category, they can learn the business, but it's skill sets I'm looking for. And look at what they've done in the past, and they've proven they're leaders, and they've proven they're winners, and they've proven they're willing to compete and treat people well. What's not to like? I love that. And one of the things I did, which was fun too, was I trade people on my lead team. I would trade jobs. I took my vice president of marketing and traded jobs with my person that ran the call centers. So I have one person who has a 100-person organization of MBAs, and another person who has 2,500 people who are hourly workers who care more about their child care issues on Thursday afternoon. And I switched them jobs. And I thought, this is going to be fun. By the way, they both were going to be good. I knew it. And at the end of the day, it was phenomenal, and especially the marketing person coming over and getting into dunk tanks and going into call centers and treating and double jacking on the phone instead of worrying about your strategy for 5 years out. Wildly different. I did that because I thought it would refresh them. I knew my instinct said the skills were there to do it, and if they wanted my job, which they did, they needed to be able to do both those jobs.
So were they surprised with the results?
One was and one wasn't. I contend that both of them should have been, but one dude said, okay, I think I can do this. I said, okay, here we go. If I didn't think that, we wouldn't be doing it because the business is too important, but this will be fun. It was really, actually, one of the unintended consequences, I guess, one of the things that came out of it was that the appreciation between the two groups goes up. It's the old walk a mile in my shoes. Because the call center people, I was complaining about what's happening in marketing and all the offers, and all of a sudden they switched jobs, and the call center people were like, that job over there is really not that easy, and neither is that one, huh? We all need to do well in order to win.
And then you have the fact that they now have to reestablish all new relationships that they didn't have before.
Yeah.
But that also is then a learning curve and a good development for the people working under those people that you've put into those new jobs.
Yeah, well said. I agree. And there's a great humbleness that comes with coming into a job that you have virtually no background in. You have a skill set, so if you have confidence and you know that in the medium and long term you can win, what you have to do is you have to figure out the short term. You know you're going to win the medium and long term, but you got to figure out what it's like to deal with people who are looking at you saying, okay, you've never done this before. You got to figure out what that means to still be the leader, but also provide new ideas, but listen and do that back and forth. I think that's an excellent experience for anybody that's going to be a leader.
Fantastic. Well, Harry, we thank you because over the last few weeks you've talked about get real leadership and getting real with yourself, getting real with people. Now we've talked about getting real with business or in business. And all of that can be found in your book, Get Real Leadership. If somebody wanted to contact you for the book or for other information, where could you be reached?
Very simply, harryscampbell.com. I have a website with some testimonials, with some video of me speaking, a link to buying the book on Amazon. It's also available on Kindle in the e-reader format. If you have a question for me, there's a link there. You can do that. You can click on that, and it comes right to my phone. So I'd love to hear from you. 100% of the royalties from the book go to charity, as do the gross speaking fees. I'm now getting ready to do my 15th speech around the country on Get Real Leadership. I have fun doing keynotes, and I get a chance to give money to charity. So it's an excellent experience for me.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
You're welcome.
You can hear more advice and information from Harry and other past guests by going to our website at www.newlandingsjobchat.org or just search for Job Chat on YouTube.
And until next time, may your days be full of health, happiness, and success.